Good morning, good afternoon and good evening to you, the good morning of the tube. Hope you are today, hope you're grand and all is well in your world. Welcome to another Q&A Wednesday. Let's get to question one straight away. Okay, so question one today comes from Matt. He says, can you give me any tips on how to develop my ear so I'm better at learning songs by ear? I kind of spoke about this in another Q&A where it was kind of like, you know, doing the thing of figuring out songs by finding the kind of a root note on your low E. So, say for instance, you're trying to find, you know, Iron Man. Like, I think I used that as an example then. It's like, so your first note is that. You can kind of like go, there it is. So there's that way which I've already kind of spoke about. Another way really is just by doing it over and over and over again. Learning by ear is a skill you learn through repetition. Well, like anything on guitar, it's a skill you learn through repetition, doing it over and over and over again, year in, year out, hour after hour, minute after minute, second after second. It's not something that kind of like, there's a quick route to being able to do. Like I've been learning songs by ear now for a long time. Well, 10, 12 years, give or take, and I still have trouble hearing things sometimes. So it's a constant thing where you constantly develop. You know, you're never going to be 100% brilliant at it, but you can get better at it. But it's just through repetition and doing it over and over again. There's no kind of quick and easy kind of like way to do it. But like I say, if you're figuring out a song, finding the kind of like the root note of the song on your low E string is kind of like key, and knowing the notes on your low E string from the open E to the F down to the E here, and also knowing the notes on your A string, so open A to your A down here, that helps as well. So knowing these top two strings, kind of like what the notes are on the frets, that really helps as well. But there's no quick way, I'm afraid to say, there's no kind of like, you know, easy route of me saying, oh, do this, do that, do the other, and you'll get there. It's a case of just kind of throwing yourself in the deep end and learning, trying to figure out songs and just listening really closely to every note. Example was when I was learning Diary of a Madman. All those chords at the beginning, I was literally, it took me quite a while because I was painstakingly listening to every note to find the right chords, and you get chords like, you know, you get chords like that. But it is a case of just listening really closely to every note and then finding it on the guitar, and eventually kind of ear develops over time. It takes a long time, but when you start to kind of be able to hear things and then play it, that's when it gets weird, trust me. But it's really, really cool. It's really strange, but super, super cool. I just realised I got a very shiny guitar. I can see all the shining things, so I do apologise if I blind you today. I do apologise, sorry. But yeah, I hope that's answered your question. I know it's not really an answer, but like ear training, it develops over a period of time. Like I said, it really isn't something you can kind of like learn in a day or a week or a year. It takes a long time. But you know, just keep going at it, throw yourself in the deep end, try and figure out songs and just listen really closely to all the tonalities of the chords, single notes, and really, you know, start simple and just kind of build your way up. Diary of a Madman is a brilliant intro to learn by ear because it's picked, so you can literally pick out every note, and it takes a long time and it's frustrating, but it's worth every second to really kind of like, you know, to delve into that. So yeah, that's question one. I hope that's answered your question, Matt, and yeah, keep going. You know, your ear will develop, I promise. Okay, so moving on to question two now. Okay, so I picked this guitar for a reason today. Which guitar do you prefer, Jaguar or Jazzmaster, and why? Well, I prefer the Jaguar over the Jazzmaster. I've played quite a few Jazzmasters in my time playing guitar, but I've never got on with them. I don't like the way they sound, I don't like the way they feel. Even though they're the same shape as a Jag, I don't think it's the shape so much now. I think it's more of a sound of a Jazzmaster and the neck. Like on the Jag, I love the short scale neck. It's a bit of it's a short scale to a Stratocaster. So I love that. The neck on the Jag is possibly one of the most comfortable necks that's ever been made. I really do think, well, for me anyway, I really do think it's ridiculously comfortable, and it's they're just so awesome. And I like all the switches on the Jag as well. I like all these kind of different sounds. I like this sound where you've got both pickups on with a high pass filter in. It's really quacky. You know, really kind of surfy sound. Deep reverb. About a Jag, there's just so many sounds to be had, and also it's kind of like you got the John Frusciante 1999 around the world kind of stuff. Yeah, you got that kind of sound. It sounds pretty close to it, and I love at Woodstock where he turns his guitar off. But that's another story. Get back to the question. But yeah, I do love Jags. I love the big headstock, especially when it's matching. I love the fretboard, I love all the electrics, I love the way it's all set out. It's John Frusciante once said, like, you know, the Jaguar was the next best thing to a Stratocaster for him, and I'm definitely in agreement with that. It really is. It's like, if I couldn't have a Stratocaster, I would play Jaguars 100% of the time. They're just absolutely gorgeous, and I love this one. This is my favourite Jaguar I've ever played. It's just perfect. You also asked too, like, what the pitfalls of a floating tremolo and the bridge. Well, I've done a video on the bridge on how to kind of sort that out, because there is ways. I mean, yeah, you do get your string moving about the place, but you've got to play a Jaguar and a Jazzmaster in a more lighter touch kind of way. You can't batter into it. Well, you can, but in a different kind of way. You have to play it aggressively, gently. If that makes any sense. That sounds probably really weird, but there is ways round. You know, this is the original bridge with all the grooves, and I don't like the Mustang bridge. I did have one on this, and I didn't like the height of the saddles. Like the low E and the high E were really low, and I didn't like that. So and I like the variation you can get on a real Jag bridge, even with all the grooves. So there are pitfalls to it, but I have done a video on that, on how to kind of sort that out. And also, the other pitfall is if you break a string, your guitar's gone. That's the only problem. The Jag, you do actually have a lock on the Fender version where you can set it up, and if you do break a string, you depress your tremolo arm, flick the lock, and it puts you back somewhere near in tune. It's never 100% accurate, but that is quite cool. But on this Squire, I don't have that. But saying that, I did a gig with this the other day. This is my main guitar for Dukes Deluder, and I broke my high E string during a solo, and it stayed in tune. So yeah, it wasn't so wildly out of tune that I couldn't keep playing. So, you know, for what that's worth. But I do prefer Jaguars. I love the way they feel. I don't see the bridge as an issue anymore. I don't see the floating trem as an issue. You're not have to dive bombs on this guitar. You have to play it a bit more gently, but you can play it aggressively. But they're just amazing. I love Jaguars, not so much Jazzmasters. Anyway, hope that's answered your question. I'm gonna stop gushing about Jaguars because I love Jaguars. Anyway, moving along. Question 3. Shut up. Where am I? Okay, so next question is, how do I set up my strats for a low action? Do you have the neck straight or add relief in the neck? I don't like, I've got a video on how I set my guitars up, but I don't like a low action. I can't stand it, especially on a Strat. And I feel you lose a lot with a low action on a Stratocaster. I think if the action's quite medium to high, I think the guitar, a Stratocaster, works better. Again, this is just my opinion. But if I was to set it up low action, I would have the neck totally straight. I normally have a bit of relief. I don't like straight necks. For some reason, the way it's got a straight neck, the guitar feels like really kind of like tensed up like this. If you have relief in it, it kind of like goes, kind of like that. It kind of, it's almost like it can breathe, and I don't know, it could just be me being weird, but I think it sounds better. It's like having the back cavity, the cover on a Stratocaster on the back off. I think it sounds better without it than it does with it. I don't know, maybe that's that Eric Johnson neuroticness creeping into my brain. Anyway, but for a low action, yeah, I would have the neck straight, because then you kind of are going to have not so many issues. But if you have the vintage style radius on your Strats fretboard, like, you know, if it's fairly curved, like the vintage Strats were, and you have a low action, it's going to fret out very, very fast. You won't be able to do kind of mega bends or anything, because, you know, it just won't let you, the radius of it. If it's a flatter fretboard, then you'll be kind of like, you'll be okay, as long as your frets are kind of like level. But I would say kind of, if you're going to go for like a vintage curved fretboard, I wouldn't have the action super low, personally. I think you're going to have trouble, especially with fretting out, and that drives you mad. I hate fretting out sounds. I hate that sound. It drives me balmy. But yeah, I think the Strat does suffer for a low action. I would kind of like crank it up a bit. If it's kind of like hard for you to play with a higher action, try lighter strings. You know, go to 9s. If you use 10s, try 9s. You know, there's no shame in playing 9s. There's this big hoo-ha about, oh, you need big strings. Like, no, you don't. You really don't. You play what's comfortable. If the guitar is hard for you to play, you can't enjoy it as much. You know, if you're struggling and it's literally like, oh my god, this is so hard, but I'm getting a great tone, that's not worth it. You know, it's not worth it at all. You can get a great tone with thin strings, as Billy Gibbons demonstrates every time, and you know, people like B.B. King and whatnot, and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix used, well, it was a 9 set on the high E, B, and G, and it was an 8 set on the D, A, and E. So, you know, really super light strings. Rory Gallagher used 9s. Quite a lot of people use 9s. Eric Clapton used super thin strings. But yeah, it's no fun if you're struggling to play. But yeah, I've kind of gone off topic there. God, where am I? Anyway, yeah. I wouldn't recommend a low action on a Strat. I would say, you know, you want it a fair distance up. But if that's what you want, then go for the neck flat and just kind of like. What I would do is I'd go by each string and bend up from the 12th fret, doing this. You know, and if it still chokes out when you do the bends, bring it up until it doesn't choke out on each string. Just spend a bit of time doing that. But yeah. Anyway, hope that's answered your question. Yeah, and yeah, let's go to question 4 now. Okay, so question 4 comes from John. He says, how do I get better at stringing notes together in solos? And how do I get better at soloing full stop? Again, like I said, with the developing your ear, there's no quick and easy way to do this. It takes years to develop this kind of free flow, if you will, on the guitar, where you can kind of like string things together. The way I did it, and this is the only way I can think of doing it, is I don't have any experience anything else. The way I did it was I learned all the notes that worked on each string and developed these shapes in my brain, which I later found out were pentatonic, 5 positions of pentatonic scales. And through kind of going, nope, 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 you know, through trial and error and finding these notes that work, you eventually kind of get these shapes, so you can kind of, you know, you can kind of scale the next note, saying, and it helps you develop like a bit more of a flow with your solos, because you can kind of go up the neck instead of getting trapped in the pentatonic box like you said you were. So what I would say is learn your 5 positions of your pentatonic scale. That's a need, that's a must. So yeah, your minor pentatonic, your major pentatonic, and your other 3 positions. To sort of learn it up and down the neck, and I would say learn them in E minor. So you've got your E minor there, G major, you know, so on and so forth. I'm rushing there, but learn all those positions in E minor, and then find a backing track or a song you like in E minor, and literally just start playing across the neck instead of up and down the neck. Kind of like instead of kind of going, you know, that kind of thing, kind of, sounds a lot more musical to me to play across the neck instead of kind of boxing myself in. But I do tend to do that a bit as well. But there's nothing wrong with pentatonic boxes, but I reckon it's a lot more melodic if you kind of go up and down the neck. So 5 position pentatonic scale. I'm going off on one today. Stop it, Dave. Get to the point. 5 position pentatonic scale are a must to learn. Learn them in E, find a backing track or a song, and literally go at it, make mistakes, and use your ear to kind of like find what you like the sound of. You know, just trying to like go, well, oh, I like the sound of that, oh, I don't like that so much, so I won't do that again. You know, and there's certain kind of like, you know, practice kind of like trying like half-step bends or full-step bends. Half-step bends are really nice. You know, they're kind of really cool, very John Frusciante-esque. So yeah, I mean, and eventually you'll kind of develop this map of the fretboard in your head, and you'll develop this kind of like, this groove, an internal kind of groove and a feel, and don't kind of feel kind of like constrained by time, because you can do whatever you want in a guitar solo, like time-wise. You can drag it, you can push it, you know, you can play in time, you can play out of time, you know, you can drag it about the place. John Frusciante would do it a lot on Stadium Arcadium, like, an example would be kind of like where he'd slow down time. Like if he was playing like that in time, and then he'd start going and then go back into time. That kind of thing of dragging and stretching the time is really, really cool. It's quite a cool thing to look into. But don't feel pressured to kind of like be, I've got to be bang on in time, I've got to play a note every second. You know, you don't. You can just go. You know, really take your time with it. Would really be my kind of advice. But yeah, 5 position pentatonic scale are a must. And play using the knowledge practically instead of theoretically. Really. I hope I answered your question. I've been, my brain. I don't know if it's working right today. This might be the worst Q&A ever. But I hope that answers your question on that. Like I say, and it will eventually develop to this kind of like being able to string notes together in a nice kind of melodic kind of way, and you'll get a feel for the flow of the song you're going for, and it'll eventually kind of like pour out of you instead of struggling and feel you're just being a cliche of pentatonic box licks. So that answered your question, and yeah, let's move on to question 5 now. Okay, so question 5 is how often does my WH10 wah-wah pedal start acting up, and how often do I clean it? I'm kind of reluctant to answer this because I'm a very superstitious person. I only have one WH10 as well, so that makes me even more superstitious. The WH10, I know it does act up a lot, and I know it's kind of like prone to dust, and there's a bit of a scratch to it, like, turn it up a bit, you kind of hear it. You know, but I think more often than not recently I've just left it and just kind of got on with it. And the thing is too about the dusty pot is, because I use it quite a lot, and it doesn't really kind of come through anymore. You kind of hear it. It's kind of scratchy, but when you're playing, you know, normally it kind of really doesn't come through no more. So I don't know. I mean, I think my focus on WH10 has shifted to just kind of just leave it alone and just kind of like go with its issues instead of kind of trying to fight them, so to say. Kind of like, you know, so the bypass issue, find a way around it. The scratchy pot issue, find a way around that. You've got to be really kind of like delicate with WH10, even the reissue. Because yeah, even though it's made out of metal, they are a delicate wah-wah pedal. You can't go kind of like you can with a Crybaby or a Vox or anything like that. They require you to be a bit more soft, you know, with it. They're a bit more of you have to baby it a little bit more, and I think through doing that, it kind of it behaves better basically. But I do think instead of fighting it, you know, just kind of go with its foibles, you know, its issues and problems. I think it kind of works out a bit better in the long run, really. So I've just kind of left mine for a while, And now I've said this, it's going to break, and I'm going to be without a WH-10 wah pedal. Question 5. No, question 6. Okay, so last question today in Q&A is, do I have ever a problem gaining inspiration? I can't listen to other bands like I listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers. There's quite a few little questions in this. But do I have a problem gaining inspiration? I think that's an issue for every kind of creative person, whether you kind of play music or you're an artist or you're a writer. I think that happens at one point or another anyway. You know, you will find kind of like a lull or a dull spot. You know, so many people I've read books on, or heard interviews on, or read interviews on. So they get to that point where it's just not something's not inspiring them. And I think at that point you have to do something different, or you have to look for something else. If you know what I mean. So inspiration is kind of one of those things that you can't chase. You can't rush after it. It's kind of like it's trying to find the bottom of the rainbow. You're not going to get to it. You can run, but you're never going to get to the bottom of the rainbow. So inspiration's a lot like that. You're never going to get there if you're trying. If you just stop and go, right, well, I'm not inspired, so I'll just, you know, I'll either do something else, or I'll just play something I enjoy, or I'll write something I enjoy, or paint something I enjoy, then inspiration will find you. Inspiration isn't a thing that I don't believe that kind of like, I think it's something that comes from somewhere else. If that makes any sense, I'm probably getting a bit zen. But it's something that kind of like gets given every now and again. Like for instance for John Frusciante, Noel Gallagher. It's something that comes from something else, you know, that we don't fully understand, and that's totally fine. So I would say if you're not getting any inspiration to play, or say write or paint or whatever, then literally just stop and do something else. You know, play something else. Learn a different style. You know, tear away from what you're comfortable with. You know, because it will come back around. You know, inspiration will come back and it will find you. You can't force it. You know, it comes when it comes, and there's no forcing it. So, you know, I hope that's kind of answered that. So it's a case of just waiting, really. If you're not inspired at this point in time, wait. Something will come along that will make you go, whoa. For me, at this point in time, it's Perfect Circle. I don't know why. It's just come along, and I can't stop listening to Perfect Circle, and I'm really loving the sound of their music right now. So it's really inspiring me to listen to that a lot and kind of explore heavy drop tunings and stuff like that. I don't know. It's really cool. But anyway, but that's the thing about inspiration. You asked also, do I still go deep into John Frusciante's music? Oh yes. Yes, I do. John will always be my number one. He will. I mean, as much as Jimi Hendrix, Mike McCready, Rory Gallagher, Peter Green are big influences on me, I always feel John Frusciante is my... He's the person who I look up to most, and the style he plays is so... Every time I hear it, it just connects with something very deep inside me, and that sounds probably really silly, but it really does. There's something very, very deep about his music to me. So I still go very, very, very deep into John's music. It's more so now that I listen to it. I don't learn. I definitely prefer to listen to John playing more now than I used to listen to it and trying to figure out what he was doing. More so now, I'm trying to I just enjoy listening to him. Like stuff like the Imperium and some of the live Chili Peppers stuff. I just enjoy the sounds he makes and the pictures he makes in my head and stuff like that with his guitar playing and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, and some of these electronic stuff. I like some of the pictures he makes with some of the electronic stuff, like on The Tale of Fur and PBX and Enclosure and stuff like that. But yeah, stuff like that. You also said, like, you know, it's obviously very important thing as a musician to develop yourself and listen to all music as a rule. I wouldn't say listening to all music is a rule at all. You listen to what you want to listen to, and you forget anybody who says otherwise, really. I mean, I agree that it's really cool to learn different styles of music, but if you don't want to, don't feel pressure to learn things just because somebody told you so. You know, go by what you want to do. There are no rules in music. There are no rules to say you can do this, that, and you can't do this, you can do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can do whatever you want, and that's the beautiful thing about music and guitar playing. If you want to, coming back to John Frusciante as a case in point, if you want to do, like, if you get to like something like I Could Have Lied guitar solo, sometimes John will do this, and this is perfectly fine. Just letting the guitar feed back, it's an expression. It means something. So there are no rules. If there was rules, the guitar and music wouldn't be as freeing as it is. So there are no rules to music, there are no rules to guitar playing. You do what you do that works for you. And that takes a while to develop, but you know, you do that. And John Mayer said a great thing once in an interview. He said this, he said, "You sound like yourself when you fail to sound like your heroes." And I don't think anybody could put it better than that. You really do. When you fail at sounding like John Frusciante, Jimi Hendrix, and all these other amazing, you know, people, you'd start to develop your own sound by mushing these people together. Like, my ideal style would be like John Frusciante crossed with Jimi Hendrix, which they kind of are anyway, crossed with Peter Green, and crossed with Roy Gallagher. You know, those four people are and Mike McCready as well, sorry, for some absolutely cool kind of like, well, just some amazing stuff that Mike does. Those five people, if I could just mush them together into a pulp and eat that and then become that, you know, I'd be very, very happy. And that's where I want to get to. That's kind of my aim, is to kind of like get the best of both worlds of all them guitarists in one. More so John than anybody else, just because that expression of his playing is just magical to me. Like you said, his playing's magical. It definitely is. But yeah, you know, I don't feel there's any rules in music. If you start putting rules on it, it becomes boring, and it's not about rules. Music isn't. It's about expression, and you can't put rules in expression. You know, if you want to smash the guitar up on stage because you're that angry, you know, at something, you know, smash the guitar, as long as you can afford another one. And as long as it's not like, you know, a priceless heirloom like a 59 Les Paul or a 60 Strat or a 50 Strat or whatever. You know, as long as it's just something you can vent it, just get it out of you, whatever it is. As long as you can kind of do that, that's the kind of key. There are no rules to that, so it's just do what you want to do at the end of the day. But yeah, anyway, I hope that's answered your question, and yeah, I hope this has been an okay Q&A. I kind of went off on tangents, and I do apologise for that. I kind of tend to do that sometimes. I kind of lose my brain a little. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again on Friday for another video. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now. Have a great one. Ha ha!